Hi guys, today's video is going to be a review of the new Citrus Punch palette from Simply Posh. If you've been around for a while, you know that I have been head over heels in love with their other palettes. I think that their formula is really good. So when they asked if they could send me this, I was like, absolutely, I can't wait to try it. And here we are. So we're going to be testing this out today. I've already done a couple of looks, spoiler alert, but we're going to do 3 in this video. I'm going to do 1 on camera, and I'm going to show you the other 2 looks that I've done with this. So yeah, look at this color story. Isn't this just so beautiful? It's so springy, summery, fun, colorful. I don't know, it just makes me happy to look at, and I think that the variety of shades in here, there are tones of colors that I don't feel like I have in other palettes, especially like this green shade. I don't think I've seen a green like this in any other palette that I own, which says a lot because I probably have, how many palettes do I have? Like 150, 200? I think I kept 150 after my declutter last time, and I've obviously gotten a ton into my collection. Also, side note before we get into this, I know a lot of you have been waiting for my next ranking video, which I haven't done a ranking my last palette since, what, January? It's been a very long time. So I think what I'm gonna do at some point, I'm getting overwhelmed just thinking about it because I'm looking at the basket of palettes that I have that I haven't ranked yet, and there's so many. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do a ranking all the palettes that I've tried this year, except for January, but that's gonna be like the title of the video. So it's probably gonna be like 30 or so palettes. It's gonna be a lot. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. Obviously gonna include that in that ranking video. So I know, like I said, a lot of you rely on my rankings for, you know, purchasing decisions and seeing how things stack up against each other, and I totally understand that. So I'll try to get around to doing that soon, but back to this palette. This palette is available now. You can use my affiliated code Annette to save some money if you're interested in anything from the brand. We're just going to go ahead and dive right in. So I've already kind of formed some thoughts on this, and I'll share those kind of as we go along. I like to chat during me doing my makeup rather than just chatting and then not having anything to talk about while doing my eye makeup. So that's what we're gonna go ahead and do. I'm just priming with my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base like I always do. But make sure I put quite a bit of primer like in the inner portion of my, or just on my inner corner, because I think I want to do mostly a green look today because I've used all of these other shades pretty much, and I just want to see like how the tones of these are going to work together. I feel like doing a very kind of a light pastel-y green look with maybe just like 1 shimmer or something. I want this to be pretty easy, but still like colors that I don't normally use. So I think that's what we're going to go ahead and do. Now, of course, if you want colors like this to really pop, I would recommend using a white eyeshadow base. The best white base that I have tried is from P. Louise, but I don't really like working on a white eyeshadow base unless I'm just doing like an inner corner pop of color or something. But I just find like trying to blend like white up towards my brow, it just looks kind of stark, and I don't like it's just annoying. Like if I wanted to not be stark, I would have to go in with like a concealer or like another eyeshadow primer, and I'm not that high maintenance. I'm just not. Like I don't care that much. If my color isn't 100% like as true to pan as it could be, I just don't care. So I think I'm mostly gonna use these 3 shades. So I think I'm gonna do, maybe I just want to use these 2. I think I just want to see how those 2 are going to perform. So I'm just going to go in with this one. This is the shade called Citrus, and I'm so excited to just put this all over my crease and just see like the color of this. I find that with Simply Posh's mattes, they're very much like a buildable formula, but they build really, really nicely, and you can get like, see how opaque I'm getting that after like going in 3 times. Yeah, that is such a pretty color. I really like that. Like I said, I don't think I have a color like this in my collection, so I'm excited to have this one. So I'm not going to do anything super fancy with this. I'm just going to kind of build this up as much as I can in my crease, and then I'm going to do the darker green in the outer corner. I don't want most of this to be very dark, so I really want this to be just like my 1 crease color pretty much. So I'm pulling it pretty high up to make sure that when I'm done with this look, it's going to show. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this palette, and I think this is a really nice companion palette to other things. I think if you're someone who's into more neutrals, having a palette like this to kind of pair with your neutrals, I think you would get a lot of use out of, because a lot of these can be used as pops of color or like inner corner shades and stuff like that. And I think it's just a really fun palette. Like, I do think for myself, I would probably pair this with other things just because of like my own makeup preferences and the way that I like to do my eyeshadow, but it still works really nicely as a standalone palette if you're into these kind of colors. I do like having some deepening shades and stuff like this to go with palettes like this. Even if I'm trying to do more of a pastel-y summery looks, I still like to have a little bit more depth in the outer corner. And this palette doesn't have a ton of depth. It does have this shade, but these really aren't that deep, which I mean, is totally fine. Not every palette needs to go super deep, and you know, this is kind of the theme of the palette, so I get it. I'm gonna take the shade called Lime, and I'm just gonna use that in the outer corner. I'm using a Sigma brush. This is the E42. I got a really nice package from Sigma about a week ago with a bunch of their brushes and sort of like a welcome to the PR list. I don't know if I'm on like the official PR list kind of package, but it was super sweet of them, and I got a lot of their brushes and just a lot of their products, and I really like Sigma as a brand. I like their products. I think they're really nice quality, and I used to use a lot of Sigma brushes, and then I, you know, jumped on the Rephr bandwagon and I never really looked back, but having kind of played with these again, after not having used them for a while, I remembered that I really like them, and I think that if you're into synthetic brushes and you don't like natural hair brushes, I think Sigma is a really, really good place to go for brushes, and I think that they've expanded their range quite a bit as well. So they have a couple more like smaller brushes now than they used to have. This one in particular is really, really nice. It's kind of the same size and shape as my Rephr 13. It's not exactly the same brush, but it definitely performs very similarly, even though I do find that natural hair brushes just pick up and deposit color a little bit better. So if I use my Rephr brush, I probably wouldn't have to go in as many times to get the depth that I'm looking for with this shade and just getting it as opaque as I want. But it's a really, really nice small detail blending brush that I think a lot of people would really like. Like, look at these colors together. That is so fun. Like, I really, really like how these two kind of complement each other. And I love that crease shade. Like, that is so pretty. I don't want this to be like the most dramatic look, so I'm thinking, like, do I want to do anything underneath my eye? I could just kind of leave it like this. I could also try to maybe do the yellow under my eye, but I don't think the yellow is going to show up that nicely because it's a yellow and so it's just not that dark. Maybe I'll do a little bit of this dark shade just to sort of connect the outer corner of my eye and then leave most of the lower lash line sort of blank. I think that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Just make sure the outer corner here kind of makes sense. In this way, I find that I'm able to just shape everything a little bit easier as well. And I like using small brushes when I'm working on the outer corner. This is just a Morphe brush. It's a M149. I've had this forever, and I still use some of my Morphe brushes that I had, you know, years ago. I used to love the Morphe brushes because they were one of the few brands that actually had small brushes, and so I would use them all the time, and this is one that I have in my collection still, and I use it from time to time. It's just a basic pencil brush, but I feel like everybody needs a basic pencil brush in their collection because you can do a lot with it. You can use it for inner corner shades, you can use it for more detail work, lower lash line, stuff like that, and it's just really helpful to have. So I think this is all I'm going to do for the mattes. I think I'm just going to use one shade on my lid because I haven't used this shade and I've pretty much used all of these other shades. I do have some thoughts on the shimmers in this palette, but I'll get to that. I'm going to take this shade after I've put on some of my NYX glitter primer. And I'm just going to put that shade pretty much all over my lid because I really want to see like what this looks like and what the shift in it is, because I feel like it has sort of a pink to yellow to green shift, which is very, very unique and not something that I feel like I have in my collection either. So I feel like there are a lot of shades in this palette that is just kind of lacking in my collection. And it always impresses me when I see a shade that I don't feel like I've ever seen before, because like, how many different colors of eyeshadows can you possibly make? And I have so many eyeshadows that at this point it's really tough to impress me and like come up with something that I don't already own, at least something that's similar to. But I don't really think that I have something that's similar to the shade, and it's so pretty. So as for the shimmers from Simply Posh, I think that they are, I would say, just generally a formula that most people are going to get along with. They are on the sheer side, but they are buildable, and they're not that squishy formula that really enhances texture on your lid. I know a lot of people don't like those. I personally love those. But those can tend to crease a little bit on me just because of how emollient they are. I don't feel like these crease at all. These actually wear really, really well on me. They do take a little bit of time to just get a really nice opaque application if that is what you're looking for. If you like more of a sheer wash of color on the lid, you can also get that with these. So I find that they're quite versatile and they're easy to work with. The only thing I would say, I do have a little bit hard pan in one of the shades in this palette, actually two of the shades. So the shade here called Tangy, this one I used in one of my other looks that you will see later. This one has really bad hard pan, like I can barely even get anything. Like I tried to swatch this and it was really, really tough, and it's hard to get anything onto my finger. Now I feel like there are different levels, I guess, of hard pan. Like sometimes you get hard pan in a shade, but if you dig your brush into it, it still picks up. I feel like with this kind of hard pan, it's just like almost completely sealed, and it's really, really tough to pick anything up. So yeah, not the biggest fan of this shade because of that. I hope other people don't have the same issues that I do, because it's a beautiful shade. So that's the only thing that I would say. The other shimmers are working really nicely. This one has like the tiniest bit of hard pan, but it still works. I can still pick it up. It's not a huge deal. The other ones are beautiful. Like I said, more of a sheer formula, but they just look and wear really, really nicely. So the only shade that I have any qualms about in this palette is the shade that I just showed you. I'm just putting on even more of this because I'm obsessed. Like, I love this shade so much. It's so pretty. I think this is really all I'm gonna do for this look. I don't want this to be like a complicated look at all, and I'll show you the other looks that I've done obviously after. I'm gonna take just a tiny bit of this shade, I think, as kind of my under the eye slash inner corner shade, and we'll see kind of how that goes, just to add a little pop of a different color here. Just putting a little bit right here. Like, these mattes are so nice and pigmented. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish up with this look, and I'll come back and show you the other looks that I've done as well, and sort of just give you my review on this palette and let you know if I feel like it's worth your money to pick up. All I did was I put some yellow in my waterline, and I put on some lashes and mascara, and the lashes I'm wearing today are the Dreamy Lashes from Lily Lashes. This is from the Butterfly Eyes collection. They're very small. If you have hooded eyes and you're looking for just like a half lash, I would say they're a half lash. They're more like a 2/3 on me because I don't cut them, but they're very, very natural and pretty and easy to put on, and they've been really good quality so far. I've probably worn these 10 times now, and they're still going very strong. So I really like these lashes, but just keep in mind they're quite small. So if you don't have hooded eyes, you don't have small eyes, these are probably going to be too small for you. I did read some reviews on Sephora just because I was curious what other people thought of them, and most people were like, these are way too small. Like, most people don't like them because they're too small, but if you like small lashes, I think that you would really like these. And I like these for days where I don't want like a big lash, you know, I just want a little bit of something just to make my own lashes look better than they are, and I think these are perfect. So let me show you the other two looks that I've done with this palette. Now, I'll be completely honest, I don't actually remember both of the looks that I have done, but I remember really liking the way that they ended up looking, and I think I forgot to take pictures of at least one of them. Yeah, I don't think I took pictures of any of them. Wow, I am the worst YouTuber ever. But anyway, you're seeing the looks right now, and like I was saying before in the beginning, I have had nothing but a good experience with the other palettes that I have from Simply Posh, and I think that the mattes from Simply Posh are honestly becoming one of my favorites. I wouldn't say they're like blend bunny perfect, but they're pretty darn good. So if you like the color stories from Simply Posh and you're looking for like colorful mattes, I think that you would absolutely love this. The other thing that I would say about the palettes from Simply Posh is that these are magnetic. So if you're someone who has a lot of single shadows, these would be amazing to like create your own color stories with, or you know, if there's a shade or two in a palette that you don't like, you can replace it with something that you already own and kind of, you know, switch things around. So I really like that about them, as well. I'm not really someone who does that just because I review palettes for what they are. And usually if I'm like, you know, gonna use two things together, or if there's something I want to change with the palette, I'll just use the palette along with whatever I'm thinking of. I don't need to like switch it all around, but I really, really like this palette. I love the color story. The only downside I would say is that the shade Tangy for me has hard pan. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's annoying and it kind of sucks, but hopefully it's not the case with all of the palettes. And a lot of the time when I say I get hard pan in a shade, I'll have someone in the comments be like, I have the same palette, I've swatched it, I've played with it many times, I use my fingers with it all the time, and I don't have hard pan. So it doesn't happen to everybody, but just something to keep in mind. It might happen to you. Maybe if you get this palette, just don't swatch it just in case. That would probably help like preventing hard pan, because usually hard pan is a result of like your natural oils combined with the formula that just kind of don't react very well. So just keep your fingers out of the pans if that is something that you're worried about. But overall, I really like this palette. I love the color story. I love Simply Posh as a brand, and I think they've come out with yet again a really, really nice palette that I'm happy to have in my collection. So I think that's pretty much going to be my thoughts on this. I've had a really good time playing with this. I think that it's just perfect for the season, and I feel like in the summer when it's starting to heat up, I don't want like fall looks, you know? I don't know what it is. Like I used to be the kind of person who's like, I don't do my makeup depending on the season, but honestly, I kind of do. Like I kind of do, and the same with like the way I dress and the clothing choices that I make and the colors that I like to wear. Like I just in the summer I just like more brights, and I like more like colors like this, you know? That's just kind of how it goes. So yeah, I think that's gonna be my thoughts and my review on this. Thank you so much to Simply Posh for sending me this palette. Thank you to you guys for watching. If you want to see some more Simply Posh content, I will make a playlist and I'll put that on my screen. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.